Welcome to the Bleeding Edge Report with Chris and Tregg, where tech meets its match.
Hey, welcome to our second show of the Bleeding Edge Report with Chris and Tregg. I'm Chris, over there is Tregg. And this week's show, it's Tregg's turn to share something from the Bleeding Edge. And Tregg's got something really important for all of us to dig into. So I'm just going to turn it over to him and let him share with us what's going on I guess it's in the medical field. Is that right, Tregg?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And thanks for the introduction on that one. Oh, by the way, if you just a little reminder to like and subscribe if you like our content. We're going to keep on trying to dig in and get some great content for you guys to watch. So anyway, hey, Chris. So this week on the Bleeding Edge Report, the news report for this week, the title is called Death by 1,000 Keystrokes.
Wow, that is that. Tell me more. I'm interested.
So it's death by 1,000 keystrokes, where electronic health records went wrong. Okay, so what we're talking about is the electronic record systems that are now basically embedded in most healthcare systems, doctors' offices. Right. Where they have to accumulate and type in all this data. So let me ask you a question to start off here. What % of time in a typical visit does a doctor spend interacting with a computer versus interacting with a patient today?
Okay, well, given that it is the topic, I guess I'm going to have to assume, first of all, it's a 30-minute appointment. Let's just assume that, and I'll assume that the first 10 minutes is doctor just dealing with a computer, and then the rest of the time is with a patient. So about 1/3, 33% of the time. Is that about right?
That would have been right about 15 years ago.
Oh, no.
Okay. Today, what we have is this, and this is from a recent study in 2018. I think it was a little bit over 600 physicians. Average time that they spent a day on a patient, interacting, doing anything for one patient. So the average was 36 minutes. Over 50% of the time was spent interacting with a computer.
Well, at least the appointment's a little bit longer than I expected, but yeah, it doesn't diminish the point you're making. That is incredibly bad.
Yeah, they spend their time. Imagine doctors nowadays spending half of their day, a doctor who goes to school for gosh knows how many years, 8, 10, 12 years, and then half their job is this, right? There's not too many people with half their job is just doing this. There's not very many. And to have doctors do it. Anyway, that's extraordinary. In the past, 15 years ago, it was about 20% of time that they spent actually documenting stuff. But now they got to spend over 50%. And this is, it used to be a simple paper process, right? And now it's this extensive EHR process. So this is a monster that was created. Okay. And let me explain a little bit about, where it came from exactly. Give everyone a little bit of background. Okay. So in 2008, the wise legislature and executive branch decided, hey, we just need to do something with healthcare. Everyone was trying to do something with healthcare for many years, right? It was a big thing. Let's do something with healthcare to make it better. Well, Hey, what we can do, they got talked into the fact that, hey, we can throw technology at this and it's going to make it better. So that was one of their options. So in 2008, they actually passed what's called the Health Information Technology for Economic and Clinical Health Act. The acronym for that is HITECH. So they passed the HITECH Act. It was actually 2009. And the goal, according to the quote from the president at that time, was, we will make sure that every doctor's office and hospital in this country is using cutting edge technology and electronic medical records so that we can cut red tape, prevent medical mistakes, and help save billions of dollars each year. So what they ended up doing was they threw $27 billion at this, and they incentivized practitioners and hospitals to put in electronic medical records.
I see. Yeah.
And so the idea was, okay, you put this in, we'll pay you $64,000 per doctor, right? That was basically it. So they kind of tried. Yeah,
So
go ahead.
$64,000, Tregg. Well, how much does it typically cost to do an install actually?
About 164,000 just to do the install.
So that doesn't really add up. So suffice it to say, my next question is a bit leading. How do doctors feel about this?
Oh, there's not a doctor. I don't think there's a doctor in the United States that will actually give anything, give anything above like a D grade on EHR systems. Yeah. It's a classic case of trying to throw technology at something to improve it. And what you've actually done is you forced people to interact with the technology so much that it's taken away from its goals.
Right. Well, I can tell you, best I can tell with my one qualified feedback on this topic, which is my 80-year-old mother. She doesn't like it either because she can't take her electronic health record from the bone specialist across the street to the knee specialist who's on the other side of the street, because their systems don't talk to yeah, you have it right there. Their systems don't talk to each other. And so she's very frustrated that the intention of the electronic health record doesn't really seem to have come to fruition, right?
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. They were thinking, okay, if we can get all this data and everyone can share all this data, right, that it would make things a lot more efficient. You go from one doctor to another doctor, they get all the information. Well, what happened is you have the market just got fragmented in terms of electronic health record systems. There are over 800 vendors right now in the United States. 800 vendors. They're all over the place that sell these. Yeah, I know. So the only bit of standardization on it is that there's a requirement that they use Microsoft SQL as their backend database. So they don't have requirements in terms of these need to be the variable names and everything else. There's no other requirements, just this backend thing. So what has happened is now you have the promise of sharing all this stuff, and you have 700 different vendors, and nobody can share a darn thing. And nobody wants to share anything because under their proprietary solutions, even though they share a common backend database, under their proprietary solutions, they don't want to give anything up. And the last thing they want to do is partner up with another company to figure out how to share stuff. Anyway, I just wanted to share these couple of cartoons because they're all over the place. People can look for them, but the intent of a doctor who, saving time, providing greater medical care, the intent is that they're actually in the room, and everyone knows this that's been to a doctor lately, just watching this. They'll be sitting there, and the doctor spends most of their time looking at the screen and not at them. Now, riddle me this, Batman. If I'm in a meeting, right, and I'm having to type stuff that someone's talking about and keep track and maybe do other things, I only listen to this, who's ever talking, probably 20% of the time. Even though I might be going, or whatever, my mind is somewhere else. So here we're supposed to have these detectives, the GPs, the general practitioners, the front line, who you go in there and say, hey, something's wrong with me. I don't know what. Can you help me figure it out? So here's this detective in a room, and they got to bury themselves in this keyboard and mouse instead of trying to be detective. So anyway, there's a lot of issues in terms of the quality of healthcare, the cost of, the promise of, low cost to be able to put these things in is turned into a monster. Not only does it cost tens of thousands a year per doctor to manage these systems, support these systems, put in new hardware and software, keep it up, train new people in them. And then when doctors don't have time to scribe or to type things, like if you're in an emergency room, then they got to hire, but they got to spend between $60,000 and $70,000 a year for another person that will just type for them. And you'll see that in there. So So it's become a nightmare. Okay.
So is there any hope for this patient, or is it going to die?
Well, it's a tough one. And the reason is because EHR systems, the cost of EHR systems are going up. Okay. It's pulling money away from what they would normally pay on nurses, operational staff, other doctors. So now now all the money that was going to staff now is getting pulled for this EHR. The only problem is reimbursements for procedures. Insurance companies have not gone up really in 10 years. So you have inflation going up, you have EHR systems going up, but hospitals and everywhere else are actually getting paid less. And that's over 10 years. So the question is, can they throw money at it? And that's the problem. Is there something that they can throw money at to try and fix this, but they don't have the money to fix it? They're just kind of holding their own. And so there's not a lot of things that can be done, but there are some areas of opportunity. I think that, and this is the goal. One of the goals of the Bleeding Edge is to talk about, okay, here's some of the issues, but let's talk about some of the potential solutions and what our viewers, tech strategists, and those type of folks can look at this and maybe plan for. So let me show a couple of things that are going on here. Let me share here. So one solution area is trying to reduce the physician interaction. So instead of a physician typing all this all day long, right?
Yeah.
And going back, because they do, I don't know if you know this, but on average, it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours after end of shift that physicians have to go back to a desk and type everything in. Okay. So you have what's voice to text, that's coming out, and they're trying to do the best they can. It's still not perfect. It's very difficult, especially with some of the prescription drug names and everything else that need to be made. But Dragon is making a good effort at it. There's another company which I think we need to watch for in this market space is a company called DeepScribe. And DeepScribe has basically deployed handheld devices. So a doctor or nurse doesn't have to go back to a workstation to do scribing. They can stand there and scribe. They can just grab theirs, go on a patient record and scribe right there. So that saves time and effort. But anything in general that can reduce the physician interaction with the technology, that time.
Yeah, that's a plus.
Everyone's, it's a plus. It's going to be something that hospitals, other kind of institutions are going to be looking at. Okay. That's one good area. Another really cool area is, okay, if you're going to use IT, let's try and use it make it more efficient. And in hospitals, that's been a problem. If you've ever been to a hospital, you'll notice that everyone has a desktop and everyone's buried with their nose in a desktop.
Sure.
So this company, Mobile Heartbeat, has come out with some devices. And what they are is it's like electronic health records on a mobile phone.
Yeah.
So you go in there, you grab it during the day, like a nurse or doctor grabs theirs, they sign in under their name, and then they can, without going back to the desktop, then they can interact, look at prescriptions, look at interactions, doing all this stuff on there. Again, that's trying to, if you are going to use technology and you are going to require them to do certain things, as long as you can require them to do something without them having to take a time out, go back to their desk and spend time and then come back, right?
I think
so. This is a good solution.
So, Tregg, how large is this EHR market today? It's $44 billion, something like that, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So in 2007, when this whole thing started, it was a $2 billion a year market. And right now it's about a $44 billion market.
So I would like to make a appeal to our viewers. If those of you out there in the IT industry can see this $44 billion opportunity for, I don't know, off the top of my head, call it EHR as a service, and maybe come up with a end-to-end solution with the objective of allowing doctors to spend more time with patients for higher quality care, and also it's going to affect their top line too. We didn't talk about that, but they'll be able to see more patients, which drives the revenue so they can pay for this
Yes.
technology. That's, to me, that's the path out, is some sort of breakthrough in that manner of packaging, a combination of people, processes, but also the technology tools. Perhaps we call it EHR as a service or something like that. And oh yeah, I forgot it just to connect it. Good point.
Yeah, so that's very good. So just to give another example of the interoperability issues that they're having, just because software doesn't want to talk to software, it's like asking, well, anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
So this company called Redox, they basically help all the database start talking to each other, but it's a whole new industry. Now that there's a problem, and it's still not solved. 15 years later, the idea of having interoperability of data and sharing data, it doesn't even come close to even starting. Now there's actually a big opportunity there for companies that want to look into that.
There is. I see it. And well, thank you for sharing this because potentially it does touch every single American with respect to our healthcare system. And when you need healthcare, you want it to work, right?
Yeah.
And that's the only time that people are going to focus on this and realize how broken it is in the time that they don't want it broken. So it's good to think about this. And yeah, I'm genuine when I say this is a call to arms for our technology leaders out there who are watching our show, which is, this is a great problem that we need solved. And I think it can be solved with the tools that you share with us, maybe a refresh on the procedures to do that, and maybe sprinkle in a little bit of artificial intelligence on top of it as well to see how we can streamline this whole thing so that we can save the medical system and make these doctors more successful. But thanks a lot, Tregg. Appreciate the report, man. I learned a lot.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Just some final words. This is it's a broken system right now. It really is, and everyone has to realize that. If you talk to any doctor, any nurse, that you have a friend or anything, ask them about their EHR system and what it does and the impact that it has on their on the care to patients. You'll realize that it is broken. So you're right. Hopefully, the leaders that maybe watch our program will recognize this or look into it a little bit more and kind of back people's play in terms of trying to fix it. So, but I appreciate it. Appreciate you letting me share it today.
Yeah, terrific. So if you liked our program today, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel, as Tregg mentioned earlier. But we are driving the Bleeding Edge report to really cut across a wide variety of technology problems and what the possible solutions are. So we hope you liked today's show, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.